Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. Welcome to the monthly LGMA webinars towards COP30. My name is Yunus Arikan, the Director of Global Advocacy at ICLE Local Government for Sustainability, and facilitating these webinars in my capacity as the focal point of the local government and municipal authorities constituency. We are just allowing 30 more seconds for all colleagues to settle down with their access to this webinar so that we proceed without any disturbance. And we also appreciate your patience for that. Okay, I think we're there. Thanks a lot once again for joining our webinars. Those who have been in these webinars before, this is a monthly reoccurring session every third Wednesdays in 2 time zones, in order to enable access of all colleagues around the world. These sessions are recorded, and then the recordings and the presentations made available to you. We usually go through around 30 minutes or 40 minutes of an update from our side, which is time to time also joined by our partners from the LGMA constituency, depending on the agenda. And during the first 30 minutes and 40 minutes, we can feel free to type in chat box if there's any burning question we can respond. If not, we rather recommend you to come back in the question and answer session and in the remaining 20 minutes or so. For our agenda today, we would be making some small adjustments because purposefully the time between this webinar and the last one was relatively short. Purposefully in the sense that our webinar today is just before the upcoming the UN Bonn Climate Conference, which is starting next week. Therefore, we wanted to dedicate most of our time also to agenda for that. And obviously, because time is too short between the two webinars, the monthly webinars, we will not spend too much time on what has happened. There's only one important agenda. We will just recap our May-June calendar for information because that's still valid. But not too deep. We will spend some time on the most important update since our webinar, which is the UN Habitat Assembly, the resumed second session. We will take you through our latest update on the COP30 vision letter, spend more time on the SP62, including daring cities as well. And then I will invite my colleagues from the LGMA working groups to provide their inputs or updates from their work, especially on comms, multi-level action and champ, adaptation. These are the ones that have been most active all these in the past couple of weeks, as far as I can remember. And then we can also hear other colleagues as well. So let's proceed. Basically, we are the voice of town, cities, and all levels of subnational government since '95, the first COP1, and we are involved in the negotiations, action agenda, dialogue with the presidencies, and collaboration with the multi-level friends of multi-level action friendly countries to us. We have, in addition to these webinars that you have registered, you have access to the previous webinars and its recordings, but also we encourage you to subscribe yourself to our bulletin because that is the one that also provides a lot of links and other updates from our colleagues or partners. We have been describing the 4 phases of our climate advocacy. The first couple of years of the 1990s, then towards Copenhagen, and after the Copenhagen towards Paris, and after Paris, delivering our recognition and to make sure that we're engaged in the new era of climate action, especially with the new generation of climate plans. This was particularly built since Glasgow because of the COP decisions, Dubai paragraph 161, and also the mitigation work program are all valuable achievements for us. And of course, with the new climate plans, we believe that there will be a new era. The LGMA website is your the source of information for previous activities, including our links, recordings, interventions, position papers, and as much as possible that you can track back of what we have done, but also it's also uploaded with new information available. It's a year-long engagement, but of course we always make sure that we want to be at the strongest level in the blue zone in the negotiations, COP9 to COP spaces, and we were very proud in Baku, and we are now going forward, and this will be one of the updates that we'll share from Nairobi. This COP30 will build on the two outcomes from the last 2 years, because it is a journey. It's from Dubai to Belém. Both the stocktake outcome, but as well as the Baku outcomes, will be the main target, and that's what Brazilian president has always been saying, that we do not want to create new initiatives, but rather we want them for implementation and integration and synergizing as much as possible. We always try to map who is who, especially both the outgoing and incoming presidencies. There is not too much new names here, but one thing that I would like to happily inform, you may have remembered, there's the envoys, and 3 of them are directly related to urban communities, urban poor, and subnational governments. We have proudly made the first discussion with Philip Young yesterday, and some of our partners as well. We're very happy that he's planning to be in Bonn, as well as, you don't see his name here, but in the previous chart you have seen Dan Iospe, the Brazilian climate action champion, will also be joining us at the Bonn City Hall on the 17th of June, which will be addressed in our agenda in Bonn. But we're very happy to have such a direct and in very, very open and frank dialogues with all levels of government from Brazil and Brazilian presidency. NDCs are coming up, new ones are on the line. The champion endorsers are shining with their multi-level experiences, reflected on their plans. But we hope there will be more to come, because at least 3/4 of the countries are still not submitted yet. So that's exactly why we are trying to move forward our agenda, not so that we do not only focus to Belém, but the journey to Belém is even more important. You can remember our tracking of our calendar from the global agendas, national agendas, as well as UNFCCC and UN and LGMA. And that is exactly the summary of what we have achieved over the past couple of weeks in all fronts. Copenhagen, Panama, and a number of other sessions has evolved. This year is the peak year. This month is very, very intense in Berlin, in Bonn, but also in Nice, Sevilla, London, also in other processes. It's a tense month, and we would like to make sure we get the best out of it. We are also aware all these discussions are in touch or connected to the new UN that we are expecting to evolve, hopefully for better, not for worse. There are, of course, all possibilities on the table, but we hope this effectiveness and synergizing will help us. And we are also aware our colleagues at the Global Task Force are also reaching to the UN Secretary General in terms of our strengthening our engagement as a constituency and across the whole UN system, so not individual processes. And of course, there's a lot more to go on the next couple of months with the UN AT initiative, the election of the new president, new Secretary General, and the new General Assembly President will all play these roles. One important update, I would like to spend some time on that. These are just screenshots of the press event on UN Habitat's climate and environment milestones for 2025. As you can see, this was a strong event with the participation of the COP27 presidency, COP29, so COP27 and Egypt, COP29 Baku, and COP30 Brazil, representatives, ambassadors, the chair of SCUPA from Azerbaijan, and Ministry of Local Governments from Egypt were there, together with UN Habitat Executive Director Ana Claudia, and the LGMA, the voice of the networks as a strong partner of UN Habitat, was represented by or presented by Gino van Begenike, Secretary General. This was part of the 2 days intense agenda of UN Habitat Assembly. I would just like to check if we have colleagues from UN Habitat who may provide us some feedbacks, because there is an important outcome of this discussion. We were very proud to have both Minister of Cities of Brazil, Jader Filho, and COP30 President Designate André Del Lago providing video interventions, pre-record statements, but very strong, very powerful. I'm just checking. Colleagues from UN Habitat, feel free to raise your hand if I'm not able to track you here. One of our colleagues from UN Habitat has a happy reason for not able to join us, but I don't want to disturb her personal issues. Leah, our familiar colleague and our almost warrior, how we can call it, now is her maternity leave, therefore she cannot join us. Anyway, I don't see other UN colleagues, but what the good news is that Minister of Minister of Cities of Brazil, Jader Filho, officially announced that ICLE, UN Habitat, and Brazil Minister of Cities will work together to create a space, and also in collection with Marrakesh partnerships, partners such as Global ABC, to create a dedicated space as big and as effective as possible, and it will also be connected to the efforts of the COP30 presidency, which they are now in the process of defining their vision of how to introduce a slightly new innovation on the thematic areas, thematic action days in traditional COP areas, COP spaces. We are assuming that there may be some announcement coming which aims to expand these discussions, not just one day or a couple of hours, but the 2 weeks. And one of those thematic areas will focus on directly relevant to us: cities, infrastructure, hopefully multi-level action, expanded urbanization, which will be designed based on the global stocktake outcomes. And we also would like to encourage this design looks not just the Dubai global stocktake outcome document, but also the COP29, especially mitigation work program on urban systems, so that the global stocktake focus on adaptation in cities, the global stocktake on paragraph 161 multi-level action, and mitigation work program in Baku are all defining the scope of our space. And we will make sure, if we have in parallel a pavilion, because thematic zone and pavilion may have different purposes or functionalities or features, but the idea is that they help each other, they complement each other. Obviously, we will hear in the LGMA agenda, there will be more outcome in terms of logistics and planning, so there is still room to go. But at least from UN Habitat, we are very happy to see such a strong commitment from Brazilian Ministry, UN Habitat Executive Director, the UN Habitat partners. The UN Habitat Assembly was also not only for obviously COP, and they had primarily had a focus for adoption of their strategy. The strategy now has a strong element on climate action. This is another position that we're very happy and excited, because there was an intense negotiation. The US delegation was among those, or one of the only, let's say, who was trying to attempt a strong UN Habitat strategy, but the rest of the UN family endorsed this strategy, and it's officially adopted. This gives us the chance that UN Habitat and Ministers of Urbanization can much powerfully engage in climate agenda. And final good news, the new president of the UN Habitat Assembly, who has taken over from Mexico, is Malaysian Minister of Urbanization, especially with Kuala Lumpur Mayor and all the other actors in Malaysia. We are strongly hoping to have a good relation. Malaysia is not a champion endorser, but it's a strong active in Asia. We believe this will get us closer in terms of a global movement. Okay. This is the new text that we have been discussing with you, the COP30 vision letter. It was originally a zero draft key position or joint position. We thought it is better to brand it as a vision letter because it was not exactly fulfilling the mission of a joint position, but we rather thought that it is, in fact, an official response to the COP30 presidency letters, which is 3 editions were received. Our vision is literally responding to this Muchurao spirit. Our brand is rallying for local to global COP30 and beyond. The three headlines did not change in that sense. Before Belém, in Belém, and beyond Belém. You can hear some adjusted lines, but the essence is the same. We have just updated the language with latest update we heard from Nairobi as well on the pavilion and the discussion with our negotiators. This document is uploaded on our LGMA website, and it will also be visible in the LGMA at SB62 section as well. And we will be using this to our leaders who are in Bonn and in their countries to keep this as the main negotiation position, or the main position, how we would like to come to Belém and how we want to get outcomes from Belém. Especially our colleagues from the working groups will come back onto this, the activities and how we want to go further. So let's continue, because then we can give enough time for other colleagues to intervene. This slide is in 3 slides. We would like to share with you how we are now preparing for the UN Climate Conference in Bonn. This is traditionally the annual technical meeting, so it is not supposed to be at the ministerial level. This is more at the negotiators level, and the mission of this meeting is to prepare the decisions to be adopted at the end of the year, or review progress of the previous years, because the negotiation agenda items are long-term. There are several information to be compiled in order to deliver. So it's a long-term process. What we could think about, what is the importance of this year's session? What is the uniqueness of this thing, this year's session? We could suggest that it is on 2 folds. One, from the global perspective, and one for LGMA. And in each of this, we have 3 main priorities or expectations. First of all, remember in Baku, parties were very intense discussion, intense discussions on finance. They said that we have to make sure finance deal closed up in order to make progress on other issues. This was the position of Global South, and it was also a key expectation from the Global North negotiators. It is done. The climate finance deal is done, but of course, this came with a cost of many agendas were not adopted. There was a negotiation tactics. There were some of them, they did not have time, especially there were no decision on global stocktake. There were no decision or meaningful decision on mitigation work program, which are the key areas, limited progress on adaptation. So these are the topics that are all postponed to this meeting. This is not easy, because this means there may be some significantly high politically sensitive decisions which may not be enough for the negotiators to decide on their own. So let's see how they will advance. That's one part. Second, this is the first time that the UN climate community and negotiators are coming together in the new era of the rise of the climate skepticism, starting from the US, the Trump 2.0 administration. And in fact, over this past couple of months, there were literally a roller coaster. There were moments where we were hearing that, oh, this was spreading around the world, or the impact would be much more detrimental. I must confess, once we heard the dust has settled down, there are more reality checks, especially the decisions from Geneva and Rome on finance, on urban finance and urban nature, pandemics, and even the case of habitat was demonstrating that the United Nations do not necessarily limit themselves by the departure of United States, and they are still trying to advance further. And especially, of course, this is a mandate to the rest of the global north, but also global south, to show that this will not be a barrier for their action. So let's hope such a practice can continue. There are in the last couple of months several UN meetings without any US delegation. I don't know whether this is the case in Bonn, and if they are attending, whether they will be in a strongly resisting position or whether they will let the flow. Let's remember, US has announced that they will pull themselves out of the Paris Agreement, which will in fact come into effect in a couple of months' time, which means they're still party to the Paris Agreement, so that they can have a vote, but they have never discussed to get out of the UNFCCC, at least for this couple of months and the past couple of months. The third important point is that the presidency, or the COP30 president of Brazil, has made numerous announcements. They have now finalized their team planning, the champions, envoys, their vision, Muchirao. They had numerous consultation in Copenhagen, Berlin, in Panama, and these were all informal. None of the discussions that were on these rooms are now valid anymore. This was just an exchange. The real informal, the real formal response, whether it is in the decision text or the agenda items, it will be seen in Bonn. So the way the parties will respond to Brazilian presidency will give confidence, or some hints that where Brazilian presidents should take into account when they develop their further preparations. This means, let's remember, we always say that these Bonn climate talks are the last pit stop before COP, but in some sense, it is the beginning of the last 100 meters of the long marathon, because starting from Bonn, there will be the real exchanges with the incoming presidency. So this is a test bed for all of us, and we are very happy to see almost a very powerful presence of the presidency, especially in the first week, and we'll come back to that again in terms of the details. For LGMA, what it means for us at our constituency. First of all, this is the moment where we will test how much the efforts we have been pushing for multi-level NDCs, whether they are becoming real or not, is the moment for this as a test bed. We are very happy. So far, submissions are very promising, especially from the champ endorsers. There are very good practices. Some of them are best practices. Some of them are less powerful or less ambitious, but still progress going forward. And that's the moment where we could interact with the champ negotiators and make sure that we advance together. So we will see this agenda there. Second, to our own let's say homework, how do we approach this new call from the presidency, Muchirao? We are stepping up the town hall COPs, producing results. There are some very promising announcements coming from some nations. I don't want to spoil the big news, but some nations are even announcing that they will be using this as the direct channel of subnational access to their NDCs, which is really very helpful for all of us, or subnational transition and adaptation plans, so that we also do not just wait for national governments, but also we accelerate our commitments. And third, this is the moment where we start to discuss, because we are so encouraged by the presidency, but we're also aware of the UN80 initiative, that the reform process is much more closer to reality than we have ever expected. Therefore, we have to be proactive and use this opportunity to exchange ideas and shape the ground already from Bonn onwards. This is the second page, and meanwhile, you see on the top corner the website for the SP62 under the LGMA website. This will become operational starting from tomorrow onwards, and this will give you the information you have seen here, and more of them will be available there. So this 12 or 13 days of agenda in Bonn is we can shape, or we can discuss in four categories. First of all, official UNFCCC agenda. Then we have the LGMA agenda. We have the COP30 presidency agenda, and you may have noticed that this is intense in the first week. Why? In the second week, negotiations in Bonn are continuing. This is not stopping, and there are still a lot of agendas we will follow. But majority of the leaders will be traveling to Paris and London. Paris, because city of Paris and the French government are making an anniversary celebration for the Paris Plus 10, and London, because London Climate Action Week is a very promising initiative. This year is particularly very strong. One of the leading partners of the LGMA constituency, C40, will be celebrating their 20th anniversary, because the mayor of London is currently the chair of C40, and there will be so many events like the city summit and so many initiatives. I think there's around 400 events or so, as far as I know. But under this condition, if we look at our agenda in the first week, in the official negotiations, there are several workshops, global goal and adaptation indicators, which is a complex topic, because we have to see how this 400 indicators will be streamlined. There are workshops on gender, food. The first workshops on food are coming. Non-market approach, ocean, and a new different finance discussions coming up. On the 19 and 20, there will be the Global Stocktake Annual Dialogue. And in the second week, there will be the ACE Dialogue. The bad news, I mean, these are good news. There are numerous opportunities. The bad news is that engagement mechanisms in most of the most critical ones are not clear yet. For example, we don't know how it will take place in the Global Stocktake Annual Dialogue. We haven't received the official invitation yet, or for the indicators. This is relatively a bit surprising because in the past we have received these invitations much earlier so that we can prepare our constituency to map who's speaking where. But so far it's a bit black box. So this means in the next couple of days or even hours, we may receive some more information, and therefore we have to be alerted. From our agenda, you may have seen, we are also focusing a lot on the first couple of days. In fact, Daring Cities follows the logic of last year, that we connect our intense peaking of our delegation on these dates when the high-level champions are also in town. Daring Cities will be the first 3 days. We will have a number of discussions inside the UNFCCC on the first 2 days, and the third day, 18th of June, will be at the GIZ auditorium. On the 17th of Tuesday, we will be at the City Hall, Bonn Old Town Hall, where we will also welcome the COP30 high-level champion Dan Ioshpe as well. Other than that, there is a number of side events going on. The ones that were eligible to be included in the list of side events includes ICLE and UN Habitat. Especially, this is the moment where UN Habitat will release their the new guidance for enhancing urban components of NDCs. C40 has several side events with their partners. We have another parallel event like Urban Transition Mission Conference. So it's a diverse, dynamic 3 days. From the high-level champion side, we will see a discussion, a high-level discussion on the Tuesday. There will be several open dialogues inside the UNFCCC room, and we will try to engage there as well. In terms of the LGMA agenda, of course, I forgot to mention that we will participate in the CHAMP UNFCCC Focal Points Dialogue, and we also are aware the CHAMP endorsers are now gathering together to create a kind of a smaller group of volunteering countries, because we have 75 endorsers, but some of them are much more active in the space. They will also come up with a new the discussion, and we will be engaged in this as well. As I said, the second week still there will be some discussions. Logistics information also will be the first week, and we will follow up accordingly. My last slide, last 2 slides is the delegation. We are very happy to have a strong delegation. We always know that attendance is not so easy. In the past, there were overlaps with UN Habitat Assembly. There was ICLE World Congress in Sao Paulo just 2 weeks after the Rio. So in the past couple of years, participation was relatively, let's say, limited purposefully because conditions were not suitable. This year, we're very happy. We have such a diverse participation across the world. We have from United States to Japan, from the Sweden to South Africa. We have mayors, governors, environment secretaries, councillors, as well as city representatives at expert level from across the world. This list goes in terms of the number up to 50. In terms of political leaders, we're talking about around up to 20. They may not be at the same day, all of them, in this couple of days, but they sure will have engagement in a number of events. And we hope the reception, Daring City reception on the 18th will be one of those that most of them can convene or can get together. But in other days, there will be others as well. We're very happy to have networks. We will make sure that we have a tracking of all these. And the dialogues, the 2025 Bonn dialogues is also taking place. I don't want to go into detail. Maybe we'll leave it for the discussion and answer part. But I just would like to now give a break and encourage my colleagues from the LGMA working groups to interact in this session. I see Ariel, Amelia, Ariel from the communications group, and Amelia from the multi-level and champ. Ariel and Amelia, I don't know which one you want to first start first.
Eunice, can I just suggest there was one question about the SB 62 that might be good to cover before we
Yep,
go into the working groups.
sure. I didn't see that.
Ulrich Ulrich says
Ulrich.
that the head of UN 80 confirmed last week in Geneva to prepare reduction of UN staff posts at the Secretariat by 20%. This will keep the entire UN busy with internal coordination. How can SB 62 and Bonn do business as usual if many big changes are in the pipeline?
Thanks, Ariel, for alerting. And Ulrich, it's a great pleasure to have you on board and joining us. Ulrich is a great friend, a seasoned urbanist from the UN space, but also a dedicated champion of urbanization. Ulrich, you're right. We are going through unprecedented, let's say, uncharted waters. You know better than I do in such situations. But life goes on, and I think that's exactly part of the process because, as you have said, the leaked documents are still options, and of course, these kind of meetings, like these official meetings, are maybe not in the official agenda, but in the corridors, behind the doors, in the informal discussions, it will be part of the debate. What we know, the Bonn is also city of Bonn, Germany's UN city, is also very actively involved in the discussions. The incoming president designate, or the president designate of the UN General Assembly, Annalena Baerbock, was in Bonn to have consultations with UN agencies. The staff post reduction is true, but there is also a discussion about circulation of the existing staffs to different duty stations, and probably Bonn will be one of them. That may also possible that some posts from Bonn may move to other places. So these are all informal discussions. There's no official agenda, but I think it's an opportunity for exchange of ideas. I think you are very well aware what we heard so far. The member states and the UN leadership is eager to advance because the reform agenda was a long time overdue, and it was always having its own challenges. Now, this crisis with budget cuts from US may be turned into an opportunity because UN has always been ready for a big overhaul. I think we were all discussing internally. There is a difference between the UN reform because it's more bottom up and well ready, prepared, and inclusive and consultative. Whereas the experience in the US with the DOGE, which was much more top down and much more, let's say, take it or leave it style, there's a serious differences. So we assume UN reform will benefit from these discussions, but all is possible. It's subject to further discussion. If you are coming to Bonn, we will be more than happy to have you on board and listening to your insights. But if not, let's stay in touch over the exchange of emails, or I see you also have some LinkedIn posts and others as well.
And then we have a hand up from Eloise. I'm not sure if it's relating to what's already been said. Eloise, let's see.
Hi, can you? Well, I was linked to the working groups, but I can wait.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Eloise, you want to go first?
Okay. Yeah, no, hi everyone. Yeah, no, I just wanted to just share with you what's going on with the working group on adaptation. So we've been working on the indicators that Eunice just mentioned. There is a list of, actually they've narrowed it down to 100 indicators now. But they're obviously suggestions. And now there's going to be at Bonn on the 16th of November a workshop the whole day of the UA and BELAM work program, where there's going to be detailed discussions on how to narrow even further the list, start doing pre-selections of indicators, and talk about like the gaps. And so we think it's really important that LGMA is represented there. And I wanted to check with you, Eunice, how we can make sure to have like a speaking slot, or at least a pass for at least 2 LGMA members to come. We've been coordinating with Andrew Potts from the Cultural Heritage Network, because they've been doing quite a lot of work on the cultural heritage indicators. And we also have a Quebec that could speak on LGMA's behalf. Essentially, just to give you an idea, the indicators are around themes on particular sectors and also on dimensions of adaptation, like planning for adaptation, action, reporting. So we've worked on a document where we propose selections of indicators based on those that were shared, and we've prepared a speech as well that LGMA could bring forward. So we're in touch with Eunice on that, but I think the real question is, how do we make sure to have a seat at the table? Do we just show up there, or do we need to ask? And there we need to see with you, Eunice, how we coordinate that.
Ariel, maybe I immediately react. Thanks, Alois, especially leading our adaptation working group. Indeed, I was trying to give this in a couple of minutes ago. At the moment, the access in terms of to the room, and more importantly, to intervene, there's no guidance from the UNFCCC Secretariat. This gives us puts us in a difficult situation. So we have to be alert. We have to be very, very proactive. So we have to be present in the room. It's a pity it's in the first day, which means the first days are always difficult, but we have to make sure, I assume Andrew will be there, as you have said.
Yeah, Quebec as well.
Yeah, Quebec is there. We also know our dear friend Pilar Bueno, who is being negotiating in the Argentinian delegation, and she's from city of Rosario. She's an expert on adaptation. She's particularly following these negotiations. She's now registered in the Uruguay delegation, as far as I know. And I think we should rely also on our colleagues like those who are in the party badges, because they can more easily intervene, but to make sure that they speak about our priorities. So let's make sure that we connect Pilar, Rachel, our working group at adaptation. We also have a colleague, Eva Jackson from ICLE Canada, who's part of the expert group, but she was a bit also not very comfortable because she was not too much able to interact during this process. But there are some rooms, and having Andrew is there, fantastic. So let's see how we will advance further.
Great, thank you, Eunice. If you can put us in touch with Pilar today. And then the other thing is, I've heard from Teresa that in the past you can just show up to the room without necessarily needing a pass. So I think we will be there, and we will tell Quebec and Andrew to be there. It's just if you see any kind of elements coming in from the UNFCCC about speaking slots, let us know so we can coordinate. But thank you for putting us in contact with that.
I mean, it's in the chamber hall, which is the historic place, which means that's much more open for interactive dialogue. It's not a negotiation room, but still a negotiation. So we will have LGMA flags, and especially it will be good to encourage our delegation colleagues in the delegations to have their country flags, and that they work to that. Definitely, I will now introduce to all of you so that you come together.
Great, thank you.
We have an input from Carl, but I think, Ariel, let's proceed. We can come back to the question from Carl because it's a bit broad. I really want to hear, or our colleagues be aware of your work on the comms group. And then Amelia, I guess she's on the line.
Okay, actually, Amelia's slide is first here. So why don't we, Amelia, if you're ready.
Okay.
I will share those slides.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just.
Thanks so much, Ariel. Hi, everyone. Hi, Eunice. Just while you're loading that, Ariel, I can just say that we held our first meeting of the LGMA Working Group on Multi-Level Action and CHAMP last month. Thank you so much to those who joined. We're planning to send round a note from that meeting this week. So just a reminder on the screen about what the group covers. And I think just to flag the sort of things we're hoping to do in 2025 is really provide a platform, an additional platform for knowledge exchange within LGMA, discuss tactics for securing successful multi-level action, and also develop the technical negotiating position on this topic, which will support the LGMA vision paper as that kind of evolves throughout the year. So we'll be going to Bonn to test some of that early thinking, much to how Eunice has just described it. And we'll be holding our next, our next working group meeting after Bonn. I did want to flag, though, that myself and Toby, who is my co-chair from Under 2, focusing on cities and regions, focusing on regions and states, we will be hosting just an informal coffee hour during Bonn, probably on the morning of Friday the 20th, just if anyone would like to come and discuss this topic with us and hear about what's kind of happened through the week, and then we can be ready, as Eunice set out, that great timeline of opportunity we've got. We can reflect on that week 1 and then take it forward into London Climate Action Week and week 2 of Bonn. I'll be staying in Bonn for week 2 if anyone's around. But yeah, looking forward to connecting with you in person and again virtually. Ariel, back to you to discuss the comms group.
Great, thanks, Amelia. Yes, so similarly, we had our first meeting of the comms group last week. That was great. Thanks again to everyone who participated. Just on the purpose of the, sorry, my son is in the background here. The purpose of the LGMA communications that we're doing is obviously to support all of those goals that Eunice talks about at the beginning of each webinar, and just use comms tools to support that. And then I think what we discussed in the working group is kind of enhancing that to think about how we support the goals of each individual organization, but still also align around key unified messages, so that we're not kind of trying to overwrite individual messages that that networks and individual cities and regions might want to come out with, but actually kind of just find a channel for amplifying those, and then also adding on this unified messaging of the LGMA, particularly as it relates to the position. And then something else that we've been working around, or sort of exploring, is how this working group can really be complementary to the CHAMP working group on comms. So obviously all of the work that Amelia is doing, the comms people who are supporting that work, and then also aligned with the GCOM working group. So really, where can kind of the work not either not be duplicative. So we really want to make sure that, all of these comms folks, a lot of people who are showing up to all 3 of these meetings are getting different things, getting different value out of each of the groups, but also that we are aligned. So continuing to work on those things together. So our first meeting, we had really great attendance. You can see the breadth of organizations represented there. And I would say the initial kind of feedback that, so we had a round robin on what folks need. And that's really my focus here, is like, there's work that ICLEI can do to, with limited resources essentially. And I presented kind of what we've done in the past and asked for feedback on whether that's the right work, whether we're targeting our limited resources in the right place and providing the value that benefits the most organizations and constituents, and then what can we do collectively. So what is the work that other networks, other organizations can bring to the table. I apologize for the noise if that's coming through. So the initial recommendations were that what we've done so far is appropriate and helpful, and then that we really need to focus on the translation. Sorry, is this noise coming through, Eunice? Okay,
no,
good.
not at all. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's very yeah, that we need to focus on the translation of what is a very complex situation into both understandable language, so that the people who are our spokespeople really understand it, and then also kind of provide guidance on how we can create relatable messages with those spokespeople. So I think that was a really clear ask from one of the sessions. And then the other ask, which I need to explore a bit more, was about aligning the work being done within the CBD space with what's happening in climate. So that's kind of more of a content request or focus request. And then the last 2 kind of operationalization elements were looking at how to actually, and this is related to the first point, how we take the position and really make it useful, not that it's not useful, but useful to more people, let's say. So, if we've really been able to reach, the technical kind of advocacy folks with what we're doing, what are the other parts, what are the other structures or elements within the position that can help to advance it and reach further audiences. And then the last thing is a recommendation to expand our communications tactic to include more media outreach. And that's really going to be on that kind of collective work side of things. So looking forward to exploring these topics more. We'll be generating kind of a work plan out of this. Our next meeting is going to be scheduled in July, and then we'll skip August and meet the rest of the year before COP. So thanks for that. Sorry for slightly distracted. My son is homesick, so we're dealing with that. Okay.
Ariel,
Thank
no
you.
one was disturbed by
Okay,
any
good.
background, so
Only
feel
me.
free. Only you.
Yeah.
And thanks for your strength, and wish you the best of health to your son.
Thank you. Thanks. One last thing I just wanted to say was these key milestones that we identified, where we're going to focus our work for the rest of the year. So thanks.
Excellent.
Okay.
And building on your topics, and actually slightly connected to the point of Ulrike Grote as well, we are going through these really dynamic moments. One of the sessions we will host in part of the, in fact, is the first event of the week, is the annual review of local and subnational action on Rio Conventions. The way we are connected to the biodiversity, the desertification, and climate, knowing about their progress over the past couple of years, how much they have advanced, and especially not just or only a backward looking, but rather forward looking. This will be at the UNFCCC compound. So we will be sharing with you also the agendas. Those who are in Bonn, we'll make sure that we are including both the UN institutions, secretariats, parties, but also the LGMA constituents. We are very happy to have fireside, kickoff presentations from Quebec, Rosario, and Mula as those who are the ones who could make the connection between the three Rio conventions for their acceleration of their work. So this will also be an interesting discussion, and we would like to keep it forward. We have 12 minutes to go. I see Carl providing some update on the UK local elections, where the climate skepticism gets some more posts or positions in some cities like Kent, which is a pity, but let's hope London Climate Action Week will be a bit more giving those who are on our side a bit more power and motivation. There will be a number of announcements coming up on these during this Climate Action Week. And indeed, this is a worrying signal for a lot of us. And maybe that brings us to the discussion about having town hall COPs also very actively rolled out in Europe and in the US. Let's remember, maybe I can raise this issue. We are very excited to have more sessions in the US, in the Global South. Cities like Malmö, we will hear a lot on this in daring cities, breakout groups on the 18th of June. We will hear some experience from Australia, South Africa is on the way, coming forward. Turkey, the cities from Turkey, Izmir and Muğla. The logic is that you may remember climate weeks we have always discussed. This was primarily a discussion about the CDM climate investments in the Global South. Because CDM was always hosted in the Global South, such regional climate weeks were always in the Global South. And we said that to the UNFCCC for so many times. We need to have a discussion on climate action before COPs in the European and the US continent, or Japan and Oceania as well. So we are discussing with the Committee of the Regions colleagues how we can use the European Cities and Regions Week in October, how this could be like a European town hall COP, because the more we bring the debate at the local level, we can confront these climate skepticism, go further and go beyond. So let's see how much we can advance. Hello, I see your hand, but I assume it's an old hand, huh?
No, actually, I just wanted to bounce back on what Ariel was saying about messaging, but it also connects to the town hall COPs. we had a really interesting conversation with Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, and in France, as you know, there was these regional COPs.
Yeah.
And some of the feedback was quite divided, saying that it was very top-down, and that, you know, they were saying it's not just about calling for collaboration, it's also the quality of the collaboration and whether actually it becomes bottom-up. And also there wasn't necessarily indications of financing to help the regions implement the NDC, the national NDC. So I think it'd be good in our messaging around, you know, town COPs and the need for multi-level action to also talk about the quality, you know, not just for it to be an exercise, but also that, you know, this idea of bottom-up governance as well. So I think, yeah, we're happy to support you on that messaging, but I think it needs to be, you know, it's not just mentioning multi-level action, it's also have a mechanism so that it's sustainable, it's supported, and it's also bottom-up.
Yep.
If not, I think it's just an exercise rather than a real qualitative input.
Thank you, Heloise. I'm very happy Teresa's here because rapporteur of the Committee of Regions, Natalie, is exactly the president of the Occitan region in France. She was the one who hosted these regional COPs in France, but it was 2023. Huh? I mean, that's why we are so excited to bring the energized model, which is national relevant, transformative, and community-led. We would be very happy to have the discussions during cities, and more are coming, and fully agreed. The finance discussion, and we have always been saying that it's crucial. The good thing is that after Bonn, some of our colleagues will be going to Sevilla for the Finance for Development Conference. There will already be some side events and some forums, but the biggest discussion is that if we have noticed that, I think our finance colleagues should be aware that the debate at the moment is the commitments from these global agreements are mainly decided by the ministers of environment, at least from the multilateral environmental agreements perspectives. And these budgets are beyond the capacity of the ministers of environment. It's not their control. It's the ministers of finance, or even, let's be clear, in many countries in the global north and in the south, ministers of housing, ministers of urbanization, ministers of public works, they have a budget much bigger than the ministers of environment. And we have to make sure this budget is spent correctly. It is climate friendly, and it's also helping us so that we expand our outreach. And definitely we have to find new ways of working with them and bring concrete results. So a lot of discussions to go forward along these lines. I see Agat from C40 GCOM joint program, also leading the CHAMP. Agat, I'm not sure whether you'd like to share any updates. I don't want to put on you a radar or put you on fire, but in case you wish, the floor is yours. You're more than welcome to share any updates from your side.
Thank you, Yunus, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. No problem. I enjoy the opportunity of talking you all at any time. Right, on the CHAMP initiative, so many of you will have heard this update in the multi-level working group. I reiterate here the invitation that if you want to more regularly engage with this topic or hear about the CHAMP initiative, please definitely do consider joining the meeting convened by Amelia and Toby. As for me, I will share just, I guess, a couple of updates on where we stand. According to our latest analysis, we have looked at NDCs submitted by new endorsers, and 11 of the 75 CHAMP endorsers have submitted a new NDC. Our quick analysis shows that 9 of them seem to be increased or improved in terms of subnational content or subnational consultation. Of course, this is a very preliminary analysis, and we're so grateful that UN Habitat in due course will be doing a really thorough analysis of these NDCs. But I think that it's at this stage a really good rate of success to consider that 9 out of 10 CHAMP endorsers have made a meaningful improvement, or there has been a noticeable difference in their approach to planning and policy making for their NDC. What this tells us, though, is that, let me do the math, 64 countries that are in CHAMP still are yet to submit an NDC. And so I guess as we prepare to go to Bonn, as some of our leaders will be in Bonn, and we will have opportunities to engage with national governments, this is a reminder and an opportunity for anyone on this call to help us keep CHAMP on the agenda and keep the endorsers accountable to the pledge that they made. We have elements of language, little speaking points, arguments that we can help anyone access to and use to have these meaningful conversations with national governments. There's also some guidance that was prepared at the time of the launch of CHAMP in partnership with the leaders of the initiative UAE at the time, which are little guides that explain what national governments should do to implement their pledge. So this is also all available, and we just really want to make sure everybody's aware of this, everybody's empowered with the right arguments, and we can all collectively put that gentle pressure on the 64 countries because it's thanks to their political leadership and it's with their NDCs that we will prove the concept that multi-level action is beneficial globally and universally. So that's at this stage, a few days from Bonn, all I wanted to share with colleagues, and please reach out if you'd like to access these speaking points, these arguments, or any refresher on like guidance and what we should tell national governments to do in their NDC process. Thank you, Eunice and Ariel, for the opportunity to say this to our colleagues.
Excellent. Thanks, Agatha, and the whole CHAMP support team, CHAMP support unit for pushing this idea further. And as you said, making sure that they are transparent and accountable for their commitments. But I think we will hope to have more positive news in the coming days. Hopefully the discussions in Bonn will also help them to be more energized and much more confident. So the hope is there, and we will bring the mechanics as well. Any additional points that has to be raised? We can still give back to your 2 minutes. You don't have to. If not, we can call that this session is announced. I'm just looking at other colleagues. I think we're done. And with that, I'd like to thank you all and wish you a nice day. And for those who travel, wish you the best of successful travel, and then see you Bonn. The first, we will have only one LGMA SP62 daily. It will not be daily. We will have the majority of them of our delegations on Monday. So it will be on Monday at 4 p.m. We will check our existing LGMA WhatsApp group. I think we will just have to create a subset so that we do not occupy too much of our colleagues who are not traveling to Bonn. We will also use our shared files more effectively. An LGMA website for SP62 will be operationalized starting from tomorrow onwards, along with the links to this webcast and the presentations as well. Wish you a nice day once again. Bye-bye.